Butterflies return someday. Well, you've probably heard this parable before. It is about Mary and Martha. Now, in the scripture, Martha is doing what women were expected to do. She's serving, she is managing the room, she's carrying the labor of hospitality. She's fulfilling the role that many people would have praised in a woman at that time, shoot, today, tomorrow, anytime. Now, Mary decides that she's going to sit at the foot of Jesus and listen. Now, to us, that's like, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? But listen, in that world and in that time, it wasn't small. Sitting at the feet of a teacher was the posture of a disciple. Mary is not only resting, she is learning. She is taking up spiritual space. She's receiving, teaching directly. So think about it. Any person who was seen as someone who was supposed to be in a role of service would not have taken this position, right? So overwhelmed, Martha asked Jesus to tell Mary to help her. Get up, help me. And see, this is where the story gets a little deep, because Jesus does not shame Mary back into the expected role. He doesn't say, hey, Mary, come on now, be useful. He does not say, Mary, know your place. He does not say, Mary, stop sitting there like a student and go serve. He says, Mary has chosen the good part, and it will not be taken from her. And see, that's powerful, because the pressure on Mary was not, it wasn't cruel. No one could look at it and say, hey, that was cruel. It was expectation. It was role. It was, this is what women do. It was the weight of a social script, which is often what people who are living with things that burden them are saying. It's the weight of the social script. So when Jesus refused to enforce it, that's the part we're sitting with. Because it's a lesson for us. A woman being loving does not mean she must always be the one pouring, serving, adjusting, shrinking, absorbing, smoothing, and making everyone else comfortable. That's other people's definition of loving. Mary chose learning. Mary chose presence. Mary chose spiritual attention. Mary chose to receive. And in this parable, Jesus protected her choice. And I think that globally, that's what a lot of women are saying. That the issue is not that women, and girls for that matter, are being, that people are saying, hey, be loving, be kind, generous, patient, cooperative, or even compassionate. For, the most part, women have carried those virtues across families, across faith, across, faith traditions, communities, revolutions, hospitals, schools, kitchens, churches, courtrooms, and crisis. We've been all of those things. Here's the thing. The problem is when someone else builds an ideology or a belief system, and it empowers them. And people say, oh, that's great. Including women, especially women. Say, that's great. That's fantastic. I am so glad you have found something that works for you, that empowers you, that you have found a people that embrace you and can therefore, build things within you. Now, here comes the problem. when it's crowned as righteousness, the only righteousness, the only path to righteousness. And then it assigns women a behavioral script inside it. And that script goes something like this. Be kind, but do not set boundaries. Be loving, but do not, I don't want you to name any harm now. Don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. Newer to the lexicon, be inclusive. Or by that I mean common lexicon, amongst commonly spoken. Be inclusive. Yes. But I don't want you to notice patterns. I don't want you to put pieces together and say, hey, I put this piece and that piece and that piece, and I'm seeing some things that aren't fair. Don't do that. Be compassionate, but do not protect yourself, because that's not, as I see it, compassionate to me. Be fair, but accept unfairness when it comes quietly. I want you to be open-minded, but do not question the men, the institutions, the systems, the history, the leaders, or movements demanding your compliance. And that's not love. I don't care how many times you say be kind or be loving or be compassionate, as if it's new to us, right? That's not love. That's management. And women can feel that difference because we live it. A woman can be deeply loving and still refuse to be drafted into someone else's worldview as a service worker for their comfort, but her discomfort. She can be kind and still decline to perform agreement. She can care about the humanity deeply, and I mean in layers, texture, humanity of others without surrendering her own privacy, her own safety, her own language, her own discernment, or right to say, you know what, no, And the same old trick is to make women's resistance look like cruelty. So when women say this harms us, you may be told you're exaggerating, you're being hateful, you're making a big deal out of nothing, or there you go again. When women say, I need boundaries, they're saying, I don't want you setting up things or enforcing things from tradition that then obligate me. Kindness without consent becomes compliance. Kindness without consent becomes compliance. And compassion without boundaries, well, that's just extraction. Now, a woman's goodness should never be measured by how easily she can be persuaded to abandon herself. And actually, that the parable that I started with is a wonderful example, because so many take the Bible or Christianity, and for some, it's used as a tool that further oppresses women, and in others, others use it as encouragement, something that offers freedom and liberation for women, so that we can, move well in this world, so that we can really unleash, that compassion and that love, so that we can really do it safely. But who benefits when women are told, no, you don't see danger. You don't see it. You don't see it. Don't worry about it. You don't make films about it. You don't talk about it. You don't speak about it. You don't make art about it. And you especially don't make art about it that reaches the masses. Who benefits? Certainly not people who do not like harm being spread like a virus. Who gets protected when women are told silence, and only silence and compliance is kindness? That's kind. That's sweet. That's virtuous. What happens to girls when adult women are shamed for setting boundaries? I think I've talked about or written about, yes, it was published somewhere. I found that for you guys. But I went to a well-known city and conducted a group for girls. Man, I had been doing awareness work and facilitating and, in domestic violence and sexual violence for so long. By that time, those girls knocked me off my feet because the fact that these girls were teenagers and the teachings that were meant to silence them and their pain that they spoke of. They had already learned that like by heart and had already put the intensity on it. Saying things like, why was she there? Victim blaming statements. What was she there for? What did she expect? At the same time, keep in mind these girls are young. At the same time expressing her own pain and confusion over things that were done to her that she did not deserve. That would make you weep, But they're young and they're not, putting it together. But what stunned me was, wow, at the same time that she knows her own pain by heart, she knows with passion. She knows the silencing too. She knows. That was a teaching moment for me. She knows. To see those girls be carrying pain, shame, and guilt. The pain and shame that really doesn't belong to them. It belongs to other people. But at the same time, see how they were taught. And not directly, by watching us as people, as women and men, and seeing what's acceptable. Listen, women are not here to be service workers for someone else's comfort while swallowing our own discomfort in silence. And you choose whether or not you are a person of faith, but for those who are faith-centered, God did not create women to be endless comfort stations for people who refuse to honor our discomfort, our discernment, or our no. Because if your peace requires my disappearance, then what you're asking for is not peace. You're asking for, politely, sometimes maybe, right? You're asking for control dressed in soft clothes. And I've already seen that before. Mary was not being unkind by sitting down. Just to go back to our parable, she was refusing to let her soul become a service counter for everyone else's expectation. Mary chose to remain seated, and that may cause a little, rumbling thunder under the floorboards, but Mary was standing up for herself, and she wasn't attempting to be unkind to anyone. And that's the same with what's happening globally with a lot of women today. Women's love is a natural resource. I mean, a vital natural resource for everybody in the community, for families, for churches, for all groups. And if we want to have more of that, then women with disabilities, women trying to protect children, women in the workplace, women of various racial backgrounds, women of various faith backgrounds are simply saying that we have a right to safety, health, and excellent well-being. We support your right to believe whatever you choose to believe. And women have a right to health, safety, and well-being. All right. Thanks for listening. This is Tonya GJ Prince. Thanks for listening. Y'all be great.